The story begins when Belgrieve relives the vicious incident where a monster chomps his leg off like breadstick. He wakes up shaken by the recurrent nightmare, and the reality that his leg was eaten hits him hard, despite it being 8 years. The following morning, he heads out and exchanges greetings with some of the farmers. They plead for him to help them plant their onions. Belgrieve promises to assist the next day, as he's currently going to the forest to pick some herbs that were requested. While he gathers the listed plants, the sound of a crying baby catches his attention. He puts up his guard, fearing that it might be a pixie trying to allure him in. He moves towards the direction of the distress with caution. To his absolute disbelief, the crying was coming from the genuine article. Belgrieve looks around to see if the child's guardian is around, as he wonders what a baby is doing in such a hostile place. He picks up the noisy infant. It immediately stops crying and gives him that "I am your problem now" stare. Belgrieve noticed that some hay was laid out at the bottom of the basket in a formation that supposedly wards off evil spirits. Looking at this gesture, he doesn't think that the child was neglected or abandoned, so he decides to take the baby in and look after it while he tries to find the kid's parents. 12 years pass, and Belgrieve trains his adopted daughter Angeline in swordsmanship. He doesn't go easy on her as he knocks her down and lectures her on getting lured in by such an obvious bait, and suggests that she needs to better predict her opponent's movements. Angeline holds back her tears as she complains about his strike. He reminds her that she insisted that he shouldn't hold back. The upset girl orders her father to pick her up, and he comments on how she's such a baby despite her age. Angeline remarks on how nice he smells as he announces that it's time, so they get ready for dinner. Belgrieve notes that they are splurging a little, and the father and daughter give thanks for these blessings. After the meal, Angeline insists on washing the dish. Her father is reluctant at first, but allows her when she reminds him that she will be going to the city the following day, so she wants to help around a little before then. As she works, he can't believe that she has decided to follow in his footsteps in becoming an adventurer. After finishing the dishes, she promises her father that she's going to work hard to be a great adventurer who protects the weak. The following day, villages gather to give a loving send-off. Her father reminds her that there is nothing more important to an adventurer than their own life. His missing leg co-signs that statement, looking like Zeph from One Piece. The girl sets off to the city full of excitement. 5 years pass and Wyvern attacks the city. Angeline dashes across the rooftop. Her party members Miriam the mage and Anessa the archer uses their long-range attacks to keep the flying monster at a low altitude. The arrow hits the wyvern's eye, and an electric spell stuns it, giving Angeline the chance to leap off the building and slice it in half with a cut smoother than Yuya's Riz. Some adventurers are amazed that she managed to take down a wyvern that double A rankers can't handle. Through their gushing, they reveal that Angeline is an S-rank adventurer with the epithet of the black-haired Valkyrie. Her party members can see from that attack that she is in high spirits, so they speculate that her upcoming vacation has something to do with it. She confirms their suspicions, revealing that it has been 5 years since she has seen her father, so she's excited. So, she rushes to pack in preparation. Back at the village, Belgrieve, who low-key hasn't aged since we first saw him 17 years ago, tends to the weeds that plague the farmland. He is called to receive a letter from his daughter. The village mayor comments on how important Belgrieve is to them because he exterminates monsters, manages the woods, as well as teaching the kids swordsmanship. The mayor excuses him to go and read his daughter's letter, and he later joins Belgrieve to find out how Angeline is doing. The retired adventurer informs them of her planned visit, which gets them excited. The mayor proposes they give her the royal treatment, as they have already heard that she's an S rank, which is the highest rank awarded by the Orphan Adventurers Guild. Belgrieve is so proud of her, and is looking forward to their reunion. All the while, Angeline packs her things, excited to be finally going home after so long. She invites Miriam and Anessa to come and see her home village, but they sadly decline because they must temporarily work with another party as a condition for Angeline's vacation. Miriam is curious to know what her father looks like. Angeline describes him as kind and strong, with a demeanor so cool that he is even cooler than your favorite anime character. She confirms that he was an adventurer, and that she was never able to land a blow on him before leaving. A knock from the guildmaster Lionel interrupts their conversation. She is not happy to see him at all. Her suspicions turn out to be right, as he reveals that a swarm of Gaiga ants and their queen have attacked a village. Angeline refuses to go and slams the door in his face before he can finish his sentence. She stops in her tracks when he reveals that people have already met their demise. Angeline struggles to suppress her anger as she accepts the job, and the party heads straight over to deal with the ants. She takes out all her frustrations on the monsters by mauling through them with her blade. The queen of the ants is also not spared, as it is brutally taken out Mortal Kombat style. Meanwhile, her father anxiously waits for his daughter to return, but he deflates a little when he sees that it's the traveling merchant. Belgrieve is given a letter which explains that she was not able to come because of an urgent job. He just hopes that he gets to see her soon. Angeline works hard and completes the other jobs in record time, to Lionel's shock. Doing this has created another opportunity for her to head back home. She sets off with a merchant and doubles as her bodyguard as she's heading towards her village's direction. The merchant notices that the S rank is in a good mood, and judging from her luggage, she guesses that Angeline is heading home. They have been on the road for a week now and are almost at their destination. As the two discuss, she reveals that her dad is known as Belgrieve the Red Ogre. The merchant adds that it is only exceptional adventurers that earn titles like that and bets that he's impressively powerful. They stop when some carriage horse runs towards them in a frantic state. Their confusion is dispelled a little when they hear a cry of pain coming from the forest. Angeline rushes to the scene to find some bandits have attacked Seren and her bodyguard. The lady pleads to the criminals to let them go, but from their laughs, "I don't think that is going to happen." The adventurer has seen enough of their harassment and warns them to leave the lady and run away if they value their lives. The bandits chuckle at the threats because they have the numbers advantage. This only angers Angeline more because their ambush will cause her to spend less time with her father. She unsheathes her sword, promising to make them pay for this infraction. A short while later, the two ladies emerge from the shrubs. Angeline explains the situation to the merchant, and Seren thanks them for the save. She discloses that she's the third daughter of the Bordeaux family. The merchant is surprised to hear that she's from such a prestigious family, and wonders why someone so important is moving around with so little protection. Seren divulges that while touring the area, she got word that her father collapsed and is in critical condition, so she set off quickly with her guard. Hence the light security. Hearing that she was rushing to see her father strikes a chord with Angeline. Now that they have lost their horses, Seren estimates that it will take them more than 4 days to walk back to their home. She doubts that she will make it in time, and she is too shy to ask the duo for further help since they have already saved them. She has since given up hope of seeing him. Angeline tells her that she should chalk it up to fate and pleads with the merchant to take them to Bordeaux immediately. She is willing to sacrifice seeing her father given the emergency and offers to pay the merchant for her trouble. Seren is so grateful. Angeline writes to her father again, promising that she will come next time. He reads it and smiles that his daughter is doing good work. Just as he finishes reading, the kids from the village call him eagerly so that they can go to the mountains. He gets ready and escorts the kids, warning them to pay attention to their surroundings. They pause for a moment to do a listening exercise to practice their special awareness. This reminds him how he used to train Angeline, and she was a quick learner. It always felt like it was more than just a child's quick wit, so he's not surprised that she made it to S rank. He sees himself as a wannabe quitter. While looking at his missing leg, Belgrieve cancels that trail of thought and is happy that he returned because he found Angeline. The smile on his face is completely wiped off when he senses that there is a monster nearby. This is only confirmed by the scream of a young one. Belgrieve springs into action, and with one swing of his sword, he takes out the monster before it can harm the kids. His epic moment ends with him slipping on some moss with his prosthetic leg and falling into the river. He laughs it off, calling himself lame as the kid worriedly asks if he's okay. Meanwhile, Angeline looks so cool as she stands there after defeating another horde of monsters. Her party members can see that she's stressed out. The S rank states that she's going to work so hard that the next time she takes an extended vacation, the guild will not be able to complain. Miriam suggests that she knows a nice place that will help relieve her stress. After the job, they rush to a sweet shop, and Angeline and Miriam are mesmerized by the spread before them. However, Anessa worries that they might not be able to finish it. They have their first taste, and it soon becomes clear to them that they will be able to eat everything. Angeline wishes that her father could have tried it. The other two symmetrize with her. She doesn't know when she will be able to take time off. Anessa points out that she managed to save one count of Bordeaux's daughters. He governs lands in the north, so it is impressive that she managed to make a connection with such an influential noble. Angeline makes it clear that she's not interested in things like that, and is just happy that Seren got to see her father. She promises to make it next time. Miriam also looks at the bright side because they have been raking in the money since they do nothing but work. Anessa proposes that they give some of their money to the orphanage. This confuses Angeline for a moment. So the two explain that they grew up in an orphanage, and the sister who took care of them was like a mother. The S rank is surprised to hear this, so she reveals that she was abandoned when she was a baby and found by Belgrieve, who became her father. The trio become closer as they discuss their personal lives for the first time. Belgrieve reads her latest letter introducing her party members. Anessa is the oldest in the group, and Angeline is a year younger than Miriam. She assures him that she will come back. Her father only looks into the night sky, expressing that he misses his daughter. Things continue as Belgrieve tends to the field, and he is impressed by how much the soil has improved. One of the farmers offers to take over to allow him to rest. He heads back home and eats some berries that reminds him of Angeline because she used to love them. As he wonders when she'll be coming home, a call from outside catches his attention. He answers the door confused to see a young blonde lady standing before him. She apologizes for the suddenness of her visit and wants to know if she's at the residence of Belgrieve the Red Ogre. The father is confused by the Red Ogre part, but confirms that the name is Belgrieve. The young lady proceeds to introduce herself as Sasha, the second daughter of the Bordeaux family. Belgrieve immediately shows respect and pleads forgiveness for his rudeness, as he wasn't aware that she's the Count's offspring, but the lady begs for him to raise his head. She reveals that her family owes Angeline a great debt, which equally extends to her father. She comments on his crimson hair, which fits the Red Ogre nickname perfectly, but the man seems puzzled, so he just invites her inside so that they can speak in private. He apologizes for the anemic offering, as he gives her a bowl of berries and a hot drink. Sasha is grateful for the gesture. She explains how Angeline saved her younger sister from the bandits and escorted her to their ailing father. Belgrieve inquires about his condition, and the lady confirms his demise, but the family takes comfort that the Count was surrounded by his loved ones. They tried to reward Angeline for her help, but she refused, and informed them to give it to Belgrieve if they insisted. The never-aging old man gives a warm smile hearing this, but it turns to shock when Sasha places a sack containing 100 gold coins on the table. Belgrieve reveals internally that one of those gold coins could cover his expenses for a year, but he rejects the huge amount of money. Sasha lets him know that it would be an insult to her family if he doesn't take it, so he has no other option than to accept. However, he decides to leave it till Angeline returns to see it, since he feels like it's her reward. With that matter sorted, Sasha questions if Belgrieve taught Angeline the ways of the sword and the basics of adventuring. She discloses that she herself is a novice adventurer, but there is nothing beginner about her, as she is a double A rank. Belgrieve is pleasantly surprised to hear she has achieved the second highest rank at such a young age. She requests that he show her his swordplay by honoring her with a duel. He is shocked to hear this, but he agrees even though he doesn't think his skills are anything too special. The two head out with their blades sheathed and tied as they are sparring. After showing their respects, they take their stance ready to fight. Belgrieve notices how elegant Sasha's stance is and gets a little serious. The lady starts her attack, but the old man blocks it and they exchange blows. However, Belgrieve overwhelms her with a strike, allowing him to submit her. Sasha gracefully takes the L, and Belgrieve expresses his gratitude for the easy win. The two sit for a chat. Sasha is certain that Belgrieve was a famous adventurer in his day. He reveals how he lost his leg early on in his career, which forced him to retire only achieving E rank. The lady is impressed that he has managed to get this level of strength despite his wooden leg. Sasha is further inspired when she imagines how hard he must have trained, as well as how he sacrificed fame to protect his village. The icing on the cake for her is the fact that he managed to raise an S-rank adventurer. Belgrieve is perplexed by all this hype. Sasha boldly asks if she can call him her mentor too, and before he even answers, she already starts referring to him as her master and bids him farewell. During that interim, Angeline heads to the guild hall and is happy to hear that she has cleared all the S-rank jobs that were remaining. She excitedly asks the receptionist if it means she can finally take a month off, but she is frustrated to hear that she will not be able to go on vacation because the monsters have been more active recently. Since they can't anticipate the next attack, she must be on standby. She goes for food with her party, and they notice her miserable look. Angeline doesn't care much for days off and only considers going back to her home village and spending quality time with her father as a vacation. Miriam tries to comfort her, but Angeline tells her bluntly that her father cannot be replaced. Anessa brings up the topic of them being at the mercy of the monsters these days. The mage points out that they didn't used to attack the city in the past. Angeline just wants the creatures to leave them alone so that she can have her well-earned vacation. Miriam brings up the rumors that have been circulating of the return of the Demon Kings. She speculates that this might be connected to the increase in monster attacks. Angeline is not too up to speed on the legends, so Anessa explains that there are 72 Demon Kings created by Solomon the Great Wizard. He mastered all kinds of magic, alchemy, and a wide variety of spells and handy tools. His incredible prowess drove him to hunger for power, so he created immortal creatures known as homunculi. With their aid, he conquered the land. However, later in life, he lost his mind and control of his magic, eventually vanishing beyond the reaches of spacetime. The homunculi left behind went on a rampage, destroying many nations since they didn't have their master around. A hero blessed with the goddess Vienna's protection traveled the land to vanquish the homunculi, which brought an end to the chaos. According to sources, these homunculi are the demon kings everyone fears, but no one is certain. Miriam discloses the recent appearance of a suspicious organization that has been attempting to revive the demon kings. Angeline is worried that if the demon kings return, it will be even more difficult for her to get time off. The mage is sure that Angeline could beat the kings. The girl is not modest about it and completely agrees. Their discussion is interrupted when the receptionist informs Angeline that a wyvern has been spotted. The disdain on her face is obvious for all to see. Back in the outskirts, the villagers prepare for the autumn festival, Belgrieve arrives from the farm and asks Hoffman, the real chief, if he can help with anything. They are joined by Carrie, and they discuss Angeline and her possible arrival. The merchant overhears their conversation and rushes over to confirm if Belgrieve is the red ogre she has heard all about. The man validates his first name, but he doesn't seem too familiar with the red ogre epithet everyone is attaching to him. The merchant reveals that she overheard them talking about Angeline and had to come over. As they talk about the bandit incident, a heavily guarded carriage arrives, and the merchant recognizes the crest of House Bordeaux. By Belgrieve's facial expression, you know there is about to be some disturbance. Helvetica steps out and introduces herself to Hoffman. She is the first daughter of her late father and is now the Countess of Bordeaux. The villagers are in amazement because she is famous for being a charismatic warrior and scholar who chooses to serve her family rather than get married. Hoffman takes the knee and apologizes for his transgression, but she assures him that all is well. She rushes over to Belgrieve once she locates him and expresses her gratitude that his daughter saved his younger sister. She inspects him and can see that he's well trained, which is to be expected because she has heard that he's impressive with a sword. She confesses that she made the journey to request he serve the Bordeaux family. Belgrieve and the rest of the village are confused by the demand. The ageless guy politely refuses because he has no intention of leaving the village. He exposes that he's getting old and weaker, so doesn't feel like he will be of use to them. The Countess doesn't believe him because she heard from Sasha that he defeated her with ease, and as a result, she made it a priority to employ his strength, but Belgrieve still doesn't think that it will be a good fit. The two quickly go back and forth as she continues her recruitment. The Countess decides to use force when Belgrieve proves to be stubborn. She summons her men who surround the redhead. He laughs because it is a bit of an immature thing to do. Belgrieve is willing to take on her men until she gives up. He drops his farming basket and releases his aura, which intimidates her men who stand down. Just when it seems like Helvetica is about to concede, she decides to get married to Belgrieve, which would force him to follow. The villages get excited at the thought of celebrating both the festival and such a high-profile wedding. That idea is quickly scrapped when Seren comes out and orders their men to lock the Countess in the carriage. They drag her away as she complains. The youngest sister apologizes for the trouble and introduces herself as the one whom his daughter saved and expresses her gratitude. At this point, I am sure that the novelty of a Bordeaux thank you is looking normal to Belgrieve. The old man is not offended by Helvetica's actions, since he is a one-legged Chad after all. I am sure even with one leg, Bordeaux could still steal all of our imaginary wives. The youngest reveals that the Countess gets fanatic with her recruitment when she hears of exceptional talent. She listens from the carriage and pleads to be let out, promising that she will not do it again. Seren is irritated by her actions and informs her that she will not be let out until they arrive home. She announces their departure as they have bothered the villager. Belgrieve points out that it will get dark soon after they set off. Seren didn't want to impose on the villagers, so Belgrieve invites them to stay and celebrate the autumn festival. The inhabitants give a welcoming smile as he adds that it would be an honor to have the Countess join them. Belgrieve would want Seren to allow her older sister to be released. Helvetica is appreciative and tries to recruit him again, but Seren shuts her down. The village kids drag the youngest sister to play as the party starts. Winter arrives, and Angeline meets her party members as they tell her how they defeated a high-ranking creature. The guild still doesn't know why a lot of monsters are attacking, because the adventurers they send have all disappeared. This has put more pressure on the remaining members. So many are leaving because of it. Miriam is sure that they will be understaffed soon. Angeline reveals that she has already told the guildmaster to call retired adventurers to help bolster their numbers. It dawns on her that she would ask her dad to come to the city and resume adventuring. That way they can spend time together doing what they both love. But she shoots that idea down because she is certain that he will not leave the village. The merchant interrupts their conversation and reveals that she celebrated the autumn festival at her village, and she met her dad. The merchant retells what happens, and Angeline gets a little annoyed that they try to take her father away. She wants to hear more about her father, so she offers to pay for the trio's food because she's in a good mood. Meanwhile, in a cave, a dark power manifests, feeling lonely as it searches for its master. The snow powders the landscape, marking the arrival of winter. The villagers gather as Belgrieve brings a giant monster he defeated. Given its size, he's already aware that breaking it down will not be easy, so he asks Carrie to help. Due to Belgrieve's protection of the area, they all feel safe working on the mountain. He's a little disappointed that he won't get to see Angeline this winter, but he hopes that will change when spring comes. Meanwhile, Angeline and her party arrive at the guild hall, but don't recognize a lot of the people present. Anessa points to the corner to some familiar faces. The guildmaster is being held up by Sheborg, who comments on how much of a mess he looks. Dortos can't believe that things have gotten so bad that they have been called from retirement. Angeline is happy to see the old-timers. Sheborg hopes she's doing well as he pats her on the back with a force that would end a normal person. Some of the younger adventurers are told that the senior citizens are retired S-rank adventurers. Chayborg is a soldier of Estegal and brandishes magical tattoos on his arms that boost his strength. Dortos is a polearm master who effortlessly wields a weapon that 2 grown men would struggle to lift. Angeline assumes that their presence means they have resumed adventuring. They have no other option since the rate at which the monsters are spawning is becoming overwhelming. Chayborg believes that this increase is because the new generation of adventurers are a bunch of weaklings. Angeline is just happy that they both came back. She commends Lionel on making a good call. He reveals that this move has cost the guild a lot of money. He knows that he's going to be living hand to mouth for a while. The guildmaster voices that they have not seen a monster like this for the past century. Angeline points out that it took him too long to make the decision. Lionel berates himself, but Angeline just wants to know why so many people have gathered. He explains that it is to have enough numbers to eliminate the cause of the monster outbreak. He only completed this theory the previous day, so doesn't have any proof, but he thinks that a demon king has returned. He is having someone else confirm his suspicions as they speak. Angeline feels a little guilty that she has been giving him a hard time for his inaction when he was doing all this background research. Lionel assures her that all is well, because as a former S-ranker himself, he had to make sure that it was safe. Her lectures gave him the push he needed to get the job done. The party equip themselves and head out to the location of the disturbance. Upon their arrival, Angeline spots someone at the mouth of the forest. Lionel identifies her as Maria, as he asks if there is anything unusual to report. She informs him that there is a distorted mass of magic in the area, and what is even stranger is that highly skilled individuals erected a barrier to hide it. Angeline is a little confused because it's supposed to be an E-rank dungeon. Lionel is sure they didn't detect it because of the barrier. Maria tells Angeline that she's still a spring chicken when she addresses her as a granny. Her apprentice Miriam bluntly calls her old, which leads to an explosive master-pupil reunion as they argue the fact. Anessa interrupts, worried that Maria's cough hasn't gotten better, so assumes that she hasn't developed a cure yet. She reveals that dragon curses are nasty. The other adventurers overhear the conversation. One of them discloses her full epithet as Maria the Dragon Slayer. She is an S-rank adventurer. Her coughs were contracted when she came into contact with cursed blood from an S-rank dragon. Maria gets agitated when Chayborg teases her saying she's faking the chronic cough. Lionel redirects everyone back on task when he postulates that they might be able to stop the monster outbreak if they destroy the massive magic in there. He feels confident looking at the roster of powerful warriors he managed to gather. Chayborg has enough of the long talk and blows away the barrier with a single punch, revealing the mass of dark magic. Demons begin to spawn out, and the seniors waste no time dashing in first. The guildmaster doesn't want to get shown up and orders the rest of the adventurers to attack. Intense clashes break out between the two sides. Maria, Miriam, and Anessa execute a combination that eliminates a chimera demon that was created by the mass-warped magic. Angeline notices that they will be at a disadvantage if they keep allowing the monsters to spawn, so she decides to dash inside the portal to defeat whatever is inside. Dortos and Chayborg follow. They are surprised by the layout of the dungeon. There are too many monsters, so she can't locate the center. A demon tries to ambush her, but Chayborg comes in clutch and takes it out before warning her not to let her guard down. The monster quickly recovers, so he lets them go ahead while he deals with it. Angeline uses her father's training to locate the boss. She and Dortos quickly cut their way through the heart of the dungeon. There they meet one of the demon kings that seems to be yearning for its master. The veteran warns her not to let her guard down. She's too intrigued by the little hostility she detects from the boss and approaches. The demon king suddenly attempts to devour her, but Dortos is alert and interferes with the thrusting of his spear. His attack sends the demon king back, but he's not shocked that he can't pierce it. The dungeon boss attacks again, however. This time Angeline counters with a sword slice, but also can't cut it. The old man follows up with a barrage of attacks which it evades and cracks his magic-coated spear with its mouth. She takes over and has a few exchanges with the demon. She finally taps into a latent power as she thinks about how this creature has been the cause of her not being able to see her father. She manages to cut through the boss, but she collapses due to some damage she took during the final exchange. Dortos informs her she won just before she completely loses consciousness. Sometime later she wakes up in her room, surrounded by a worried party. Miriam can't contain her relief after seeing that she is fine. The mage crushes her shoulders in the process of hugging her. They debrief her on the events after her blackout. Before heading out the room, she is met with applause from her guild members as they dub her a hero and the Demon King Destroyer. Lionel properly thanks Angeline for her contribution, but points out that they still need to clean up the remaining monsters. The hero is a little disappointed to hear that there is still work to be done. The retired S-rankers volunteer to handle the threat, insisting that she take all the time off she wants. This gets her excited. Chayborg is also impressed to hear that Angeline didn't abandon the guild when the workload increased, which prevented her from seeing her father. She reveals that she knew they would suffer. Angeline confesses that she was angry at first, but she remembered her father telling her that strong adventurers help the weak. She understood that her father wouldn't be happy if she deserted people in need just to return home. The seniors praise her father for giving her such strong moral values. All the while at the dungeon, a hooded stranger arrives at the site of the final battle. He admits he underestimated the Orphans Guild, thinking that they wouldn't find the Demon King. The ominous guy revives the Demon King and transforms it into a ball of energy. As he holds it, he notes Angeline as his biggest threat, but he's not fazed as he is only getting started. All the while, Angeline heads back to her home village with her party members. Watching the place from the hills brings back so many memories. She has heard about what has been going on in her absence and wonders if her dad turned down the Countess of Bordeaux because of her. She has moments of negative thoughts about her dad not wanting her back, but quickly dispels them and proceeds to her house. As they get closer, she notices him training some of the village children. She jumps off the carriage and rushes to him crying as she reveals all her accomplishments. Belgrieve taps her head as he comments on how she has grown into a fine young woman and officially welcomes her home with a smile on his face. Angeline gives the kids some gifts before they head back to their homes and gives her dad a drink that is popular in the city. As she tries to find the others' presents, he notices her S-rank tag and is proud that an E-ranker like him could raise an S-rank daughter. Angeline stops what she's doing and hugs her dad as Miriam and Anessa watch with smiles on their faces. He invites them inside and shows his appreciation for them accompanying his daughter. They are just taken aback to see this compassionate side to Angeline. They are soon joined by Carrie and his son Barnes. The boy can't believe that shrimpy Angeline has grown up. She claps back by reminding him that he always lost to her in their sword fights despite being older. Carrie asks her to follow them to get some spare blankets when her father asks for some. In her absence, Belgrieve serves the girls tea and berries as he thanks them for being friends with his daughter. He has already heard so much about them through Angeline's letters. The discussion moves to their encounter with Sasha Bordeaux and how they became friends after a little misunderstanding. They talk about his adventuring past where he reveals his injury that ended his career at E-Class. Miriam thought that he would be a lot fiercer since they call him the Red Ogre. He finds out that it was his daughter that informed them about that name. Angeline joins them soon after, hoping that they are not trying to steal her dad from her. Belgrieve asks her about the Red Ogre epithet. She reveals that she came up with the title. He is unhappy when he realizes that it was her who spread it around. He pleads for her to stop, as he hasn't earned the type of glory that would warrant such a name. She assures her party that her father is strong and proves it by challenging him to a duel. She pleads with him to fight seriously. Belgrieve wonders how he will fare against an active S-rank adventurer. The fight ends quickly as he evades and counters her attack with ease. The girls are shocked since they know how strong Angeline is. Her father tells her off for not working on her bad habits. She demands he comfort her like he used to when she was a child. Later that evening, the girls clean up just as Belgrieve arrives with dinner. They enjoy a well-cooked meal where it is revealed that Miriam is a beast person and has had a hard life because of it. She is self-conscious about her ears, so is moved by Belgrieve offering her a warm hat for the night since it gets cold. She even asks him to pat her, which makes her happy, as she now knows what it's like to have a father. One night, the mysterious man is attacked by some equally mysterious assailants, but he quickly dispatches them. They manage to separate the condensed ball that held the Demon King from him. He acknowledges his carelessness as the essence leaves the vessel and speculates that his attackers were after it, but he is able to retrieve it. The following day, Belgrieve trains Angeline, giving her corrections. She points out that apart from him, no one ever dodges her attack. He informs her that she will meet foes in the future, such as high-level monsters and demon kings, so she must be prepared. He asks about her encounter with the Demon King. She describes it as a moving black shadow. This triggers him to remember the beast that took his leg, which had a similar composition. He figures that hers was different by her description of its humanoid features, but she speculates that his attacker might have also been a Demon King. His thoughts are interrupted by his daughter, who has noticed that he is spaced out. The others call that it's lunchtime, and she happily proceeds. All the while, Belgrieve goes back to his thoughts, worried that she would continue to fight creatures of that caliber, since she's S-rank. The thought of her getting hurt or worse makes him get serious. He informs Angeline that if she is not able to land a hit on him, he will not support her being an adventurer, and will disown her if she carries on without his blessing. He forces her to block in her sad state, and she realizes that he worries that she's not strong enough to survive. So she shows him that she is capable by besting him, and she forces him to apologize for threatening to disown her. After the apology, he is happy that she performed such a maneuver and admits that she has grown. Meanwhile, Lionel and Chayborg patrol the streets of Orphan. The guildmaster complains about the stress of his job and the loss of autonomy he would have to deal with if he took a loan from the nobles. Their attention is caught by a group that gathers around the priestess Charlotte, who talks badly about Vienna's cult, since the people are still suffering in poverty. The girl utters that the age of the Rhodesian Empire and Vienna's cult is coming to an end. Charlotte informs the masses that it's not the goddess who will save them, but the teachings of the great Solomon. She whips out some talismans and offers to sell them for 20 copper coins. She's quite the salesgirl because the crowd gets enthusiastic pleading to buy some. The retired S-rankers don't sense any magic coming from the talismans and mark it as a religious scam. The city guards come to apprehend Charlotte and Byaku for disrupting public order. She casts a spell that stops their breathing, but Cheborg kindly holds her and requests she release them. Her scream triggers Byaku to blow the old man back. Lionel also springs into action, but he too meets the same fate. Charlotte criticizes Byaku for allowing them to get to her. The Guardian is not interested in fighting two former S-ranks, so teleports themselves out of the situation. The veterans can't believe their eyes since only a handful of mages can cast such a high-level spell. During that interim, Belgrieve, along with his daughter and her party, join the villagers to celebrate the spring festival. The chief informs him that everyone has agreed to fix the road to Bordeaux, and the leader pleads with the Red Ogre to deliver a letter to Countess Helvetica. Angeline overhears and suggests her father come to Orphan with them after delivering the letter. He goes along with her plan, which gets her excited, because she would rather go on a journey with her father than stay in the village. They decide to leave the following day. The sun rises after a long night of partying, and Belgrieve says his goodbyes to his house before setting off. The girls enjoy traveling with Belgrieve, and soon enough they arrive at Bordeaux, but it begins to rain. They agree to spend the night at an inn and meet the Countess the following day, as it would be rude to come to see the noble dirty and wet. They get a seat, and the girls order some anchovies and bread for Belgrieve, who finds it to be an acquired taste. His reaction amuses them. The Red Ogre overhears Charlotte scolding Byaku for not liking anchovies. The Guardian remarks that Charlotte is from Lucretia, which is why she's used to eating that fish. Belgrieve internally remarks that they are so young, yet so far from their home. He also remembers that the head temple of the cult of Vienna is in Lucretia. Charlotte gets so mad at Byaku that she almost falls off her chair, but Belgrieve catches her. She thanks him, but quickly changes her attitude, telling him to mind his own business. Byaku apprehends her and apologizes on her behalf as they leave. Meanwhile, a delusional adventurer tries to riz Anessa up, but gets rejected. He can't take it and tries to attack her, but he gets defeated. The other adventurers in the bar are happy that she dealt with that loudmouth. They are also impressed to learn that Anessa and Miriam are AAA ranked, but they immediately get hyped when they hear that Angeline is S rank. They confirm that she's the famous black-haired Valkyrie and the Demon Kingslayer. They all treat her to drinks and food. They look at Belgrieve's description and want to know if he's the Red Ogre. Word has already spread through the town of their arrival, and Sasha finds herself at the bar. They explain why they didn't come straight to the castle. Sasha informs them that the Bordeaux family is too indebted to them to be worrying about such things. She insists they spend the night at the mansion, which they don't reject. They are given a change of clothes when they arrive, but Angeline is not used to wearing such feminine outfits. Her father assures her that she looks good. They are soon greeted by Seren, who prepares to lead Belgrieve to Helvetica, but Angeline also wants to meet the lady who tried to take her father away during her absence. They arrive at her office, and the Countess is happy to see the Red Ogre. She thanks Angeline for saving her younger sister. However, the S-ranker lets her know that she can't be her stepmother so easily. Ashcroft, who is the Countess's guard, tries to correct Angeline for addressing his boss in such a manner, but she stops him. After Helvetica expresses her interest in Belgrieve, they get to business and discuss the road. The Countess is happy that the village is on board with the development, but there is a troublesome problem that has arisen at the west of Bordeaux in a small town called Hazel. It is ruled by Count Malta. The guy has objected to sending his laborers elsewhere despite his roads being 90% complete. They already had an agreement that sending workers to the next project wouldn't be an issue. Malta is salty because he got relegated to Bordeaux from Estigal's capital city after losing a power struggle. The Count looks down on Bordeaux as an uncivilized county and finds fault in everything they do. His arrogant behavior has escalated since their father's passing. Unfortunately for him, most of the influential figures are allied with the Bordeaux family. However, some nobles are unhappy that Helvetica has taken over. They suspect that Malta is egging them on, but they have no concrete proof yet. Belgrieve sympathizes with the complex situation, but doesn't think it's appropriate to discuss it with outsiders like them. Sasha interrupts the meeting and pleads with Belgrieve to teach Ashcroft swordsmanship too, but the guy is not interested. The Countess asks her sister to entertain their guests. The father goes to bed while the girls spend some time together discussing what men like, because Angeline is against Helvetica getting with her father. The following day, Ashcroft watches Belgrieve practice and is still not convinced about the hype of the Red Ogre. He expresses his opinion to Sasha, who gets annoyed and asks Belgrieve to beat Ashcroft in a duel to shut him up. Meanwhile, in Hazel, word of Angeline's arrival in Bordeaux has reached Malta. Byaku advises him to delay his plans, but the Count is hungry for power. All pun intended. Just look at him. This guy looks like he ate all the burgers. It is revealed that his aim is to use Charlotte, the Saint of Solomon, to help him achieve his goal. The girl sits there with a mischievous grin. Back at Bordeaux, the elite party stumbled onto the training area just as the match was about to begin. After hearing the situation and getting a proper look at Ashcroft, Angeline calls the retainer a nobody. This aggravates the lad who promised to beat her in a duel after he's done with her dad. Ashcroft brings his attention back to the fight as it's about to begin. He dashes towards Belgrieve, but the red ogre slips and luckily gets a hit on the guard's leg, giving him the win. Ashcroft refuses to accept the defeat as he believes that Belgrieve won by accident, and the redhead agrees, but the girls refuse to listen and give the W to their idol. Angeline takes him up on the offer to duel with her next, and he ends up badly injured. Belgrieve scolds his daughter for fighting too hard against a weaker opponent. Ashcroft pleads with the father not to be too harsh, since it was his fault for causing a commotion due to his jealousy. He rather apologizes while he gets his wounds tended to by a maid. Belgrieve still orders Angeline to say sorry, which she does. Her friends and Sasha also apologize for their part in this. The father comments on what good friends his daughter has for them to be able to take on some of the responsibility. Helvetica excuses herself to prepare for Count Malta's arrival. Everyone also leaves Ashcroft to rest. All the while, Charlotte recalls how much Malta wants to see the Bordeaux sisters leave this world and calls him a foolish man who's mad with power. He reminds her of the power-hungry clergyman in Lucretia, which only makes her more determined to change the world. The priestess heads to the balcony and uses her ring to cast a spell towards Bordeaux. During that interval, Sasha takes Belgrieve and the others to meet Elmore, who is the guild master of the city, who gives them a warm welcome. They all sit to discuss, and it's revealed that adventures in Bordeaux work in tandem with the city guards in times of emergencies. This is very rare since the two groups don't get along in most places. Elmore notices the dark cloud suddenly forming and finds it odd. Angeline instantly feels an unpleasant sensation. An adventurer interrupts to inform the guildmaster of the large number of undead that have risen in the graveyard. We get a flashback to Charlotte's past. She was a noble whose family thoroughly worshipped the goddess Vienna, but one day an angry religious mob burned their family home, and she was the only survivor. She lived on the streets till a hooded man gave her a ring, claiming it to be the power of Solomon, after confirming her hatred for the cult of Vienna. Presently, the girl intends to use it to show the people a miracle. The dead continue to rise as the citizens of Bordeaux frantically scatter. Looking at the evidence, Belgrieve suspects that someone summoned them. Sasha makes an appearance and calms the crowd, telling them to follow the soldiers' instructions. She asks the elite party to leave the evacuation effort to her, so the group proceeds forward to help the native adventurers who are struggling against the monsters. Seeing Angeline and co swiftly deal with the threat gives them the confidence to continue fighting. With the first wave dealt with, Belgrieve can see that the clouds are thickest around the Bordeaux estate, and it seems to have originated from Hazel. He has a bad feeling about the situation and decides to proceed to the estate while the rest deal with the other areas. His suspicions were right, because remnants of the defeated undead litter the path leading to Helvetica's office. Ashcroft and his men fight higher-ranked creatures, but he's the only one standing. He blames himself for getting injured and not being able to fight at full power. As he makes his final charge, Belgrieve quickly dispatches the monsters to the retainer's relief. Elmore is shocked to see the higher-level undead. They open the door to find that the ladies are ready for a last stand, but they are safe now. Meanwhile, at the other battlefield, a dark walker joins the fight. The other deals with the fodder while Angeline tries to fight the main body, but she is engulfed by the darkness. Her injury from the demon king she faced starts to hurt. A voice informs her that she's the same as them, which worries her. Sasha knocks the creature with an attack which frees Angeline. The other adventurers get demotivated after watching an S-ranker lose to the monster. Charlotte comes in like a hero and dispels the creature and the dark clouds instantly and claims it to be a miracle of Solomon. She introduces herself as someone who's traveling through the land to save the world. Count Malta also makes his appearance, making himself seem like the hero whose servant saved the city. He asks what happened to the city's barrier and pretends to be oblivious when he is told that it didn't activate. The Count also hopes that Helvetica is safe at the estate. Angeline insults Malta for coming late. This hits him right in the chest, resulting to emotional damage with no therapy, so he tries to shut up the S-ranker. However, his attention turns to Helvetica. When it's revealed that she's alive, the Countess welcomes and thanks him for the reinforcements. Ashford tells him to get off his horse when addressing the Countess. As he dismounts, she hopes that Malta's men will help keep watch of the city during their stay. Helvetica quietly remarks to her sister that the Count wasn't expecting her to be alive given his reaction. Belgrieve later meets up with his daughter and worries seeing her in a weakened state. He picks her up, which makes her feel safer, but the S-ranker thinks about the entity's comment that they are the same. That night, Malta gets angry at the duo because Helvetica is still alive. Byaku reminds him of his advice not to attack and calls the Count incompetent. Charlotte doesn't see this as a major setback, since all they have to do is eliminate the Countess. Malta suggests an underhanded way to upset Helvetica. The priestess is strongly against his idea after hearing it. The Count reminds her of the horrors of losing family. Charlotte sets off on her mission determined to make the cult of Vienna and Helvetica pay for taking their happiness for granted while she has lost everything. Meanwhile, at the estate, everyone gathers around Angeline as she rests. Ashcroft enters and gives Belgrave an effective elven remedy to show his gratitude for the party-saving Bordeaux. The father takes a sniff of the medicine when the retainer leaves, and it immediately makes him feel better. He sees that his daughter is uncomfortable, so he gives her a drop of the medicine which instantly stabilizes her. Belgrave recovers all his energy after pouring one drop on his skin. During that interval, Sasha rides alone to capture Malta on the orders of her older sister. She stops Charlotte and Byaku, wanting to know where they are heading at that late hour. Byaku realizes that she does not believe their excuse of going to pay their respects to Helvetica and attack Sasha. After a brief exchange, she is knocked down by the Guardian's magic. Ashcroft and Elmore intervene just as he's about to finish her off. They knew something was wrong when only her horse returned. The two are also overwhelmed when they made an effort to fight Byaku. The dark power that resides inside Byaku comes out for a moment, as he promises to eliminate everyone. He quickly takes back control and attacks, but Angeline comes out of nowhere and blocks his assault. As the fight continues, it is revealed that Byaku uses 3D magic squares, which is high-level magic. It requires tremendous mana and mental strength. However, the S-ranker feels surprisingly healthy and swiftly deals with the Guardian by landing a Tekken-style combo. Angeline holds him at knife point, demanding to know their identity and objectives. Byaku turns the question on her, and she claims to be the daughter of Belgrave. Hearing this annoys Byaku, who unleashes his inner demon, but he's cut down again. Before he escapes, he informs her that he's just like her when she calls him a new type of monster. Meanwhile, at the mansion, Belgrave notices the strange clouds gathering again. Anessa and Miriam wake up from their nap and are told that Angeline woke up and flew out of her bed. The father is more worried about Helvetica. His hunch is right again because Charlotte snuck past everyone while they were dealing with Byaku and is mounting an attack on the estate. As they inform the Countess of the dark clouds, an attendant alerts them that the undead are attacking the mansion again. Anessa and Miriam rush to deal with them, while Belgrave escorts Helvetica upon her special request. They are attacked by a Darkwalker, so the Red Ogre asks the Countess and her sister to escape while he deals with the monster. He promises that he will not perish. Thanks to the elven medicine, his movements are sharp as he swiftly cuts down the demon's attack. He's surprised when the onslaught stops, and he's more stunned by Charlotte standing before him. He recognizes her from the tavern and thinks she's missing, but the girl shouts at him to stay back and stop interfering with her plans. She attacks with her ring. All the while, Helvetica has an internal dialogue about taking the burden of ruling that her father left behind. They make it outside, just as Anessa and Miriam finish dealing with the undead, but they are soon joined by one more. Upon closer inspection, Helvetica and Seren recognize it as their late father. The Countess unsheathes her sword, feeling like defeating her father's specter is her responsibility. Back inside, Belgrave deflects Charlotte's attacks and pleads with her to stop. The overuse of the ring triggers it to engulf her hand. The girl cries for her mother and father. The Red Ogre thinks fast and douses her hand with elven medicine. This allows him to remove it before any damage is done to her. Finally, Charlotte behaves like a kid and seeks comfort from Belgrave. She thanks him and leaves with Byaku, who comes to get her. Soon after, Angeline arrives at the scene and hugs her father, happy to see he's fine. Meanwhile, Malta assumes that his assassins have failed and aims to escape, but he's escorted by some guards to Helvetica. This incident has steeled her resolve and turned her into a savage. She orders the guards to eliminate Malta and leave his body by the roadside to make it look like he was attacked by some scoundrels while patrolling alone. With the threat dealt with, Belgrave decides to return to Ternera since it's their home, and he'd like to keep protecting it. Angeline would have preferred to adventure with him, but she understands. Helvetica gives Belgrave a goodbye peck and hints to more if he's to return to the city, and everyone waves him off. Elsewhere, Marguerite dashes through the woods and cuts down some monsters to reach a demon king, which she prepares to send to oblivion. Back at the village, Belgrave looks after the infants while their mothers work. He is soon joined by the adventurer Duncan, who is the latest addition to the settlement. He comments on how much potential the youngsters of the village have and commends their instructor. Belgrave is flattered. All the kids have also taken a liking to the newcomer, but he doesn't know how to interact with them properly. It is revealed that he initially came to duel the Red Ogre since he was on a warrior's journey to fight powerful opponents. Belgrave is happy that he came because there has been an increase in monster sightings in the area, The kids suggest he live in the village. Belgrieve seconds that, and even suggests he find a wife and start a family. A report of a monster sighting gets the veterans alert. They head out with the adventurers in training to deal with them. Belgrieve is impressed, but informs one of the hopefuls that his father would be sad if he were to leave the village. He also reveals the risk of picking up such an occupation. He points to his leg as an example of the dangers that are out there. They return to the village where Duncan and Belgrieve share a drink and discuss how aging affects the body and its ability to move fluently. Duncan cheers up the mood by pointing out how Belgrieve has raised an S-rank adventurer when the old man starts to condemn his achievements. He does acknowledge that she is his greatest source of happiness. One of the young men comes to inform Belgrieve that he's needed at the plaza. Everyone is on edge because an elf has arrived at their village. The Red Ogre welcomes Graham and explains that the villagers have never seen an elf before. After exchanging greetings, he welcomes him to his house to discuss. Duncan joins them, and as soon as Graham utters his name, they recognize him as the Paladin, a hero famous for defeating demon kings and dragons. The elf informs the veterans that he's looking for Marguerite, one of the daughters of Oberon, king of the western woods in the Elven lands. The princess has set out to defeat the demon kings that have been returning recently and make a name for herself. Duncan states that she must be incredible to face such opponents alone. Graham reveals that only those skilled in the manipulation of mana can counter the demon king's special mana. He further explains that mana has many manifestations, but in the old Elven language, it's called Kai. To wield a weapon as an extension of oneself, one must use mana as a medium to connect with the weapon. Belgrieve seems to understand. Graham explains that elves possess far greater mastery over mana than humans, but even for their kind, Marguerite is exceptionally talented. This worked against her, so she left the woods. The girl thinks that she's defeating the demon kings, but doesn't know that they are immortal. Duncan assumes that the fact that he tracked her here means that there might be a demon king in the area. This would explain the sharp increase in monster appearances. The elf can't say for certain, so he suggests they go and investigate. The trio go to the forest, and Graham notices that the mana is strange in the area and exhibits properties like that of a demon king. Monsters attack them, and the veterans deals with them, but the way the paladin swiftly takes his out leaves them in awe. The elf explains that his blade is a living thing made from the steel tree. When forged into a weapon, it is especially receptive to its wielder. He is sure that Marguerite will sense the strange mana in the forest and come soon. Meanwhile, at Orphan, Angeline misses her father and is sure that he misses her too. Miriam speculates that her father must be lonely and needs a wife. Angeline decides to look for one for him, but just hopes that the lady doesn't prevent him from spending time with her. They begin their hunt at the guild hall. She notices Miss Yuri as a potential candidate, till she sees how violent she can get when she hits the guild master into the wall when he makes a statement that annoys her. After ruling her out, Miriam and Anessa want to visit their orphanage. They get there with fresh produce and help Rosetta make some pasta. As they work, Angeline considers her a good wife for her father given her skills. She asks her if she's interested in her father, which makes the nun blush. Miriam and Anessa enter before she gives a response. Back in the village, Graham and Duncan continue their investigation, while Belgrieve finishes supervising them in shearing the sheep. Soon after, a young man requests the Red Ogre's attention at the far field. He rushes over there to find Marguerite standing before him. The lady gets a little hostile because he already knows who she is. He suggests they have lunch at his place when her stomach rumbles. She eats several plates of food and demands to know how he knows who she is. She immediately gets up to leave when Belgrieve mentions that he heard this information from Graham, who is currently in the village. However, she's too late because he has already come, and it's revealed that he's her granduncle. The girl storms off, not believing that her dad is worried. She's determined to become famous just like Graham. He intends to follow her and is a little embarrassed that the veterans saw their family fight. During that interval, Angeline complains to her party members in a bar about how no one is giving her dad a chance. She leaves with the idea of setting up a speed dating event whenever he comes to the capital. On her way home, she spots Charlotte and Byaku sneaking around and quickly apprehends the guy. She threatens to cut him down if they move or make a sound. Charlotte holds her mouth to make sure that nothing comes out of it. The S-ranker wants intel on what they are doing in the city. She lets them know that they are not forgiven for what they did at Bordeaux. Charlotte pleads for her not to end Byaku and begs that they are willing to do anything to earn Angeline's forgiveness. The Guardian reveals that the little girl is returning the money to the families who bought her talismans. Once that's done, they intend to go to Bordeaux to settle matters there. Angeline is skeptical, but Byaku assures them that he only speaks for Charlotte's honor. She lets go of him because she doesn't want to eliminate a man who won't defend himself. The girl thanks Angeline while crying, but the S-ranker is not letting them go because she still wants to question them. The trio is suddenly attacked by some masked assailants. Charlotte recognizes them as members of the Inquisition of the Lucretian Holy Court. Angeline is forced to eliminate them when Byaku reveals that the use of magic and medicine has robbed them of their sense of self, so they will attack till they meet their demise. The S-ranker is not comfortable with exterminating people, but she swiftly does so and asks the two to follow her for questioning. Charlotte reveals that the Inquisition is an underground order of the Lucretian Holy Court. They secretly deal with heretics and those who defy the court. They are coming after Charlotte because her father was a bishop who got caught up in a power struggle. He was falsely accused and branded a heretic, which led to her family's demise. After hearing that, Angeline assumes that all her actions were to avenge her fallen parents, which she admits to, but she has decided to stop all her actions after losing her ring. She feels bad for raising the late Count Bordeaux from the dead, but reveals that it was Malta who ordered them to do it. The S-ranker knows that her father would hold them accountable, but in a caring way. She does the same, and tends to the wounds Charlotte sustained from the angry people they scammed. She asks them to stay with her since she can't leave them unattended. Angeline promises to protect them until they reach Bordeaux, where they can make amends. Meanwhile, deep in the forest around Ternera, a long-haired child sits alone. But later Marguerite tracks the ominous Mana to that location and mounts an attack. The child obliviously sits surrounded by monsters who attack the elf. Graham watches her, knowing that her efforts are futile. They are soon joined by the veterans who were worried because the elves were gone for the night. The child gets scared and attacks on reflex when Marguerite dashes towards him. She is knocked back and gets injured. After observing the situation, Belgrave suggests they retreat. While the elf princess rests, Graham gives more exposition as to why she behaves like this. Marguerite wakes and argues with Graham again about her recklessness before storming off. Belgrave pleads with the paladin to allow him to talk to the girl. The red ogre catches up to her, but she's hostile at first. But she quickly opens up when he starts to narrate stories about his relationship with Angeline. This leads her to realize that Graham is only looking out for her and has done so much to teach her, so she goes back to the home and apologizes for her reckless behavior. The paladin also acknowledges that he can be a bit too harsh sometimes and says sorry. Day breaks at the capital, and Angeline takes them to the guild hall. They are a little apprehensive about entering since they had an altercation with the master. Angeline tells them that she will be with them, and they enter and explain their situation and the existence of the Inquisition, which surprises everyone. Lionel has heard rumors, but having confirmation is a big deal. The guildmaster just hopes that protecting Charlotte doesn't get them in trouble with the Holy Court. Angeline sends Charlotte to get a change of clothes and some food, now that she has been given the go-ahead to protect them. Back in the village, the people have a party where the elves interact with the individuals. Marguerite thanks Belgrave for allowing them to experience something like that. The following day, they note that the sheep are behaving strangely. Graham is still feeling the effects of the happy juice, so Marguerite and Belgrave return to the source of the commotion. They arrive to meet the little boy unwell. We learn that his power is being sucked by a rare high-level chimera. The red ogre takes the boy out to safety, while Marguerite holds off the monster. It disappears when he arrives to help and tries to attack them as they tend to their wounds. Graham comes in clutch and defeats it in one hit and commends the two on their efforts. They take the boy back to the home. The paladin notes that the boy has mana within resembling a demon king. Belgrave decides to raise the kid for now and wonders what Angeline would think. Elsewhere, the hooded man who gave Charlotte the ring and who has also been working behind the scenes updates a monarch about the homunculi wishing to return to Solomon. He hands over Baal's core and is sure that once awakened, his hatred and destruction will be unleashed. Meanwhile, in the capital, Charlotte gets her makeover, which makes her happy. As they walk the streets, Byaku is a little skeptical with the whole everything is fine attitude given the danger they are faced with. Angeline assures him that she will protect them both before suggesting they get lunch. They meet Maria inside. The genius mage notices that Byaku has activated some magic circles for protection and advises him to relax on the number, but she acknowledges his skills to be able to pull such a feat. After giving him some pointers for improvement, Angeline pleads with Maria to teach Charlotte some spells. The Dragon Slayer remarks that having plenty mana doesn't mean one has a talent for magic. She is willing to teach her, but not before seeing what she is capable of. The S-ranker wants her to learn some defense spells. Charlotte is grateful to learn even though her teacher will be tough. That evening as they journey back, Charlotte feels like she shouldn't be enjoying life after the terrible things she has done. Angeline informs her that it's fine since life is full of joy. Their lovely evening is disrupted by some locals who are still upset about being scammed by the two. The nun Rosetta intervenes, and they back off because they don't want to pick a fight with a sister of the Vienna cult. They proceed to an alleyway where Rosetta can tell Charlotte doesn't like her. The girl doesn't hide it, as she advises Angeline not to associate with a sister from the cult. Rosetta hears about how the cult led to her parents' demise. The sister agrees that some clergy use their status to do bad things. However, she points out the good people who pray and live tranquilly without harming anyone. Charlotte doesn't believe this and tries to run off, but she's attacked by a possessed guard. Rosetta protects her and takes the blow to the back. Angeline picks her up while Byaku tries to hold off the guards. The S-ranker doesn't want him to fight anymore as she promised to protect them. They retreat to the guild hall where Rosetta is taken to the infirmary for treatment. All the while, the guards are held off, which gives Angeline the chance to locate and dispatch their manipulators. The hooded man watches on and states that they are too weak to test the S-ranker's strength, so summons a Demon King's corps into the city. During that interim, Byaku confronts Angeline for trying to shoulder all the responsibility, which he finds annoying. Their conversation is put on hold when a Demon King manifests and starts to attack. She makes it in time and blocks, but she struggles to fight it alone, rejecting Byaku's help till she's knocked down. Byaku tells her to stop taking on all the burden of protecting people. He joins the fight and uses his inner demon powers to pin down the Demon King. This gives Angeline time to recall her father telling her to be able to view herself objectively if she wants to become a top-rate adventurer. She joins the fight and finds her internal balance, which allows her to channel her power to cut the Demon King in a single swing. The outcome intrigues the man in the hood, but Maria intercepts as he's about to fire a spell at Angeline. She recognizes the guy under the hood and comments on how he's supposed to be dead. They have a high-level magic exchange, but he finds an opening and escapes. Maria feels like she needs to investigate this now that she knows the guy is involved. Meanwhile, Angeline rushes to the infirmary where Rosetta regains consciousness. Charlotte is relieved that the sister is alive and expresses gratitude for saving her while crying. Elsewhere at the village, the adopted boy is adapting well. Marguerite asks Belgrieve if he's ever been in love or wanted to marry someone. He smiles when he thinks of a lady during his adventuring days. He wonders what his former party members are up to. One day, Belgrieve is woken up by a bad dream about how he lost his leg. We cut to Byaku, who begins his training from Maria, and he's getting blasted around by her. She encourages him to use his own mana when he tries to use his demon powers out of frustration. The brutality of the training gets Charlotte a little worried when Angeline suggests she also get lessons from the Dragon Slayer. Later that evening, everyone gathers at the S-Ranker's room as she lets them know that they are heading back to Ternera to visit her father. All the girls get excited to go, but Byaku is a little more reserved and is shocked to see Charlotte on board. During that interim, a letter arrives at Lionel's office, which causes him to hold his head in frustration because the timing couldn't be worse. He just hopes that Angeline hasn't already left and would have preferred the letter to have come sooner. It's raining back at the village, which is rare at that time of year. Graham thinks that it's a bad omen. Marguerite informs everyone that the food is ready, so they all sit together to eat. She announces her intention to leave Ternera before winter comes. Her goal is to become an adventurer just like her granduncle. Graham realizes that he can't stop her and just accepts it. Duncan also expresses his intention to leave to face a few more opponents on his list. He has already discussed it with his village love Hannah and will return to the village to settle after all is done. Marguerite is also looking to return after some adventure, which makes Mitt the demon boy happy. Belgrieve has gotten used to the two of them and will miss them. They will stay until the winter festival and leave with the merchants as suggested by the Red Ogre. Meanwhile, at the city, Angeline slams the letter on the table with anger as the guildmaster explains that the Grand Duke of Estegal has summoned her. She refuses to go at first because she wouldn't be able to make it to Ternera before winter. However, Lionel doesn't want to get on the bad side of the Duke and lose his job, so he pleads with her. Chaborg and Dortos are present, and they are in support of Angeline not going and are willing to face the Duke's army if need be. Even though it sounds fun to fight such a foe, she knows that her father wouldn't approve, so she decides to go. The veterans are surprised by the maturity she just shown. She heads back to inform the others of the development. After some discussion with the group, Anessa and Miriam agree to stay back and protect Charlotte and Byaku, while Angeline rushes to Estegal to perform her duties. They have a mini send-off feast, and during that interim, Belgrieve trains with Graham but notices that he can't focus because of the recurring bad dream. He wonders what it could mean. On the other hand, Duncan and Marguerite have sharpened their skills even further during their session, so Belgrieve is more confident about them leaving for their adventure. The night of the winter festival comes, and everyone has a good time. Belgrieve uses it as a good opportunity to introduce Marguerite to the merchant she will be traveling with, while also providing security. Graham later pulls Belgrieve to the side because he knows that something has been on his mind. Redhead explains the whole situation, and the paladin concludes that the reoccurring dream means that he has something he needs to resolve. Belgrieve admits that he has to face his past. Graham offers to take care of the village and Mitt while he does that. It is repayment for helping Marguerite grow so much. Angeline is packed and ready to leave, and is surprised that Gil, a AAA adventurer, is accompanying her. Since they are already acquainted, they both look forward to the trip. Meanwhile, in a cell at Estegal, Kasim has a dream about how they recruited Belgrieve and the pain of him leaving after he lost his leg. He wasn't able to support his good friend during his time of need. He wakes up and calls it a nasty dream, throwing empty glass of tipsy juice. He is a skilled mage because he assembles it perfectly with magic and lets it crumble again, voicing that once something is broken, there is no point in putting it back together. Lieselot interrupts him, wanting to hear more stories of his adventures, but he wants some happy juice in return. After a short while, Angeline and Jill arrive at Estegal. The triple ranker drops her off and heads to the inn since nobles and adventurers normally don't mix. Angeline goes inside and is amazed of how expensive the place looks. She is soon joined by the pompous Villard, the second son of the Duke. They sit to have tea together, and he can tell that Angeline is not refined. The noble informs her that the honoring ceremony for her feat of defeating the demon lord will be in 3 days. He orders the maids to wash, dress, and teach her the proper etiquette before the ceremony. From that interaction, Angeline is not fond of nobles. That evening, she is washed down by 3 maids and left to relax in the bath. The attendants can't stop admiring her. She gets dressed and takes a seat when she gets a knock on the door, and to her surprise, it's Jill dressed as a maid bringing her dinner. She used the extra help needed for the social event to gain access. The lady finds the gathering of so many high-profile people to be concerning. It is revealed that even the crown prince will be in attendance. Angeline complains because she doesn't want to be the center of attention in front of such people. Villard requested this ceremony to impress the crown prince because he lightheartedly competes with his older brother Ferran over everything. However, their relationship with their youngest brother Francois isn't great. The last-born is revealed to be Lieselot, who busts into the room. She introduces herself and orders Jill to make her some tea while she listens to Angeline's adventure stories. By the end of the discussion, the girl sees them as friends and decides to show Angeline her secret. They proceed to the dungeon to see Cassim. The prisoner becomes engaged when he's told his happy juice has been brought. The girl introduces Angeline, and he has heard so much about the black-haired Valkyrie and her exploits. Lieselot reveals that Cassim used to be a strong adventurer, but he was caught resisting when confronted for dining and dashing. He uses his power to take the bottle from Lieselot. Angeline can see that he's talented and calls it a waste for him to be locked up like that. Cassim agrees that he wasted his life and advises her not to forsake her friends. She goes back to her room and gets some rest after a long day. The following day in Orphan, Belgrave surprises everyone at the guild when he arrives with Marguerite. Lionel recognizes him from his features. Angeline's party members are happy to see him and inform him of Angeline's summon to Estegal to be honored. He's glad to hear that she fulfilled her duty instead of coming home. Marguerite is also introduced to everyone, but before registering the elf as an adventurer, Miss Yuri advises Belgrave not to have his daughter look for a wife for him. This confuses him because he gave no such order. Anessa and Miriam quickly change the topic and present Charlotte and Byaku, stating that they have changed their ways. The girl rushes over and hugs Belgrave, almost taking him as a father figure. His arrival has caused quite a little commotion, so the guildmaster suggests they move the conversation into his office. Anessa and Miriam suggest that the Red Ogre wait for Angeline's explanation regarding the wife hunt when asked again. He understands and informs everyone that he has come to track some old companions. There's Percival, who was a good swordsman, Cassim, a mage, and an elf named Sati. Lionel is stunned to hear those names and reveals that Percival is an S-ranker known as the High Sword King, and Cassim is also an S-ranker called the Sky Shatterer. Belgrave is not surprised to hear this. Since they were incredibly talented, the guildmaster discloses that they have all left Orphan, and Sadie was the first to go, ending her career at A rank. Belgrave is grateful for the information and intends to gather more in the coming days to be able to pinpoint his old friends. Miriam figures that Sadie must be Belgrave's love, but that topic dies when Sheborg and Dortos enter. They challenge the famous Red Ogre to a duel since Angeline has hyped him up so much. Belgrave accepts and has an impressive showing against the 2 S-rankers and earns their respect. They want to build a friendship with him over some drinks later. Byaku can't believe that Angeline's estimation of her father's power was accurate. Meanwhile, at Estegal, Angeline is dressed in her ceremony outfit and goes out with Jill to learn how to walk properly in it. She trips in the corridor and is caught by Ferrand, who admires her beauty. He insists they take a walk together where he tries to rizz up the black-haired Valkyrie. Their stroll is interrupted by Francois, who is the outcast youngest brother. He's head of security and is suspicious of all new faces. He warns Angeline to comport herself before leaving. The day of the ceremony arrives, and some guards come to release Cassim because he has been summoned. The mage breaks his shackles, showing them that he could have escaped at any time. As a dine and dasher, I think he stayed for the free food and drinks. Angeline finishes getting ready and decides to visit Cassim, but finds his cell to be empty. Francois and his guards confront her there, and after a passive-aggressive conversation, he informs her that he has prepared some entertainment for her later. She later attends the ball and does all her greetings with Villar before excusing herself to take a seat. wishing she could go home. Angeline catches the attention of the Crown Prince Benjamin, who requests to dance with her. The two brothers join when they see them interacting. Villard just hopes that the adventurer didn't offend the prince. Angeline asks the brother who the stranger is, and is shocked to hear that he's the Crown Prince. Their interaction comes to an end when everyone gets into position for the ceremony. Gil gives some background about Benjamin. We get to know that the prince is perfect in all aspects of life. However, he had a bad reputation for being a playboy, but he's since cleaned up that image. The exposition is cut short when Villard introduces Angeline and her achievements. He pleads with his father to honor the hero of something worthy of her deeds. Francois interjects because he wants her to show her skill, to prove that she did indeed defeat a demon king. He suggests she face Cassim the Sky Shatterer. The prince approves of this idea, as he wants to see high-ranking adventurers duel. Angeline is handed a sword, but she throws it to the ground, refusing to be treated like a circus act. She rebukes Francois for trying to turn the powers that she uses to protect people into a spectacle, and questions his dignity as a noble. The Grand Duke steps up and agrees with her every word, and never thought he would see the day an adventurer would teach nobles how to behave. He gives her the highest honor to the prince's approval. Angeline informs the Duke that it was her father that taught her such convictions when asked. Cassim grabs a bottle of happy tipsy juice and takes a seat since he's not fighting again. After the ceremony, Francois is livid that she embarrassed him. His rant is interrupted by the prince, who expresses his interest in seeing the two fight. Cassim is willing, but he informs them that he will likely lose. Meanwhile, Angeline packs up to leave and is commended by Gil for the way she handled the situation. Liselotte comes to say goodbye and gifts her the dress as a token of their friendship. That evening, as she leaves the city, Francois and his men stop her and demand she fight Cassim. The mage doesn't mind losing his life because he sees himself as a coward, but she doesn't want to end him because his demise would sadden Liselotte. The mage attacks her, explaining that even though he's strong, he can't help his friend in need. The black-haired Valkyrie feels like he's being too harsh on himself. However, she has no intention of losing her life in this place, so is ready to fight if it comes down to it. Francois thinks otherwise, and promises to go after her father once she is defeated. She finds that to be unlikely, as she tells them that her father is Belgrive the Red Ogre. Cassim stops his attack after hearing that name, and asks if her father has a missing right leg. He gets excited and reveals that they are friends, hoping that Belgrive still thinks they are. Angeline lets him know that her father doesn't hold grudges. He blasts Francois and his men when they try to ruin the moment. He wants to know about what his old friend is up to, and promises to tell Angeline about her father's past in return. The prince watches from the city wall and is disappointed by the result. He is joined by the hooded man, as it is revealed that they are working together. It is also hinted that the crown prince might be someone else in disguise. Some days pass, and Angeline returns to Orphan, and is shocked to see her father around. She discloses how she met one of his friends at Estegal. He is surprised to see Cassim, who greets him from a hidden place, but that night they have a sit-down and catch up on the events that happened after he left the party. The mage gets the closure knowing that Belgrive never took what happened to heart. Angeline comes down in her ceremony dress to show her father, who is proud of how much she has grown. Everyone gathers to enjoy some time together.